But that was a dedication to a wonderful artist of Madhubani. And she gave it to me with great affection and whispered into my ears, use it on budget day. And therefore I thought it was absolutely a duty on me. Honor her.
पर थोड़ा कोइंसिडेंस नहीं है कि बिहार के चुनाव आ रहे हैं और बजट पर आपने मधुबनी साड़ी पहनी? कोइंसिडेंस है ये साड़ी इसी साल में कुछ महीने पहले आपको प्रेजेंट हुई थी? क्योंकि विपक्ष इसमें बहुत से कोइंसिडेंसेस और एक पॉलिटिकल एजेंडा भी देख रहे।
तो गलती क्या है उसमें? गलती क्या है? यस, आई अप्रिशिएट बिहार. I like the people of Bihar, Mithilanchal in particular. What a beautiful area it is. And उसमें कितने कलाकार है, कितना सुंदरता है उनके बोल चाल में और उनके भाषा. So sweet to hear. So I honestly do feel for them. मेरे मन में उनके लिए भावना है, इसीलिए मैं पहना. उसमें गलती क्या है भाई?
भावनाएं आपकी अगर बात आ ही गई है तो मैं भावनाओं पर पूछना चाहती हूँ. बजट से पहले बहुत से मीम्स होते थे कि निर्मला सीतारमन फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर, टैक्स मिनिस्टर हैं, सिर्फ टैक्स करती हैं. इतने सारे मीम्स आया करते थे. इस बार जो आपने मिडिल क्लास के लिए ये जो टैक्स बोनांजा दिया है, क्या वो कोई मीम्स का असर है? आप अपने लिए एक इमेज मेकओवर करना चाहती थी? लोग पूछ रहे हैं कि भाई मौला मेरे ले ले मेरी जान, मिडिल क्लास ने इतने सालों से इतना कुछ मांगा, आपने इस बार छप्पर फाड़ के इसी बार क्यों दिया?
ये बहुत काम करने के बाद ही हमने किया है. जुलाई बजट के समय से लगातार टैक्स पेयर का सम्मान के लिए कुछ करना है, ये माननीय मोदी जी का इच्छा था. और टैक्स पेयर को सम्मान करने के विषय में वो लगातार 2021 बजट, 22 बजट सब में हमें गाइडेंस देते थे कि अच्छा रेगुलर टैक्स पेयर को कुछ सर्टिफिकेट दो, चार्टर ले आओ कि हम अच्छा क्या करेंगे, उनको सम्मान के लिए क्या करेंगे. सो टैक्स पेयर का चार्टर भी रिलीज किए, फेसलेस असेसमेंट ले आए, फिर उसको अपील में भी लेके गए जिससे टैक्स पेयर का सम्मान हो, उनका कुछ तंग ना करें. ऐसे उस मकसद से हमने 4-5 साल से काम करते आ रहे हैं. उस श्रृंखला में ये भी एक है.
लोग कह रहे हैं कि अगर आप पिछले साल फरवरी में अगर ये अनाउंस कर देते तो शायद 400 पार हो ही जाता, 240 पर गाड़ी अटकती ही ना.
नहीं, वो कैलकुलेशन सही नहीं है क्योंकि उस समय का चुनाव में भी जनता हमारी पक्ष में ही थे, मगर कुछ मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन कैंपेन बहुत चला और गलत प्रचार किया कि रिजर्वेशन को बंद कर देंगे और इंस्टीट्यूशंस को ऐसे करेंगे वैसे करेंगे करके. इसीलिए उस दुष्प्रचार के कारण लोगों के मन में शायद कुछ डर संभावना आ गई बस.
लेकिन अगर टैक्स कम कर देते तो वो दुष्प्रचार भी साइड हो जाता. तब आपको मिडिल क्लास की याद क्यों नहीं आई? आज क्यों आई? सवाल ये भी पूछ रहे हैं.
नहीं, ये जरूर पत्रकार के मन में ऐसे बहुत सारे पोस्टमार्टम करने के बाद ज्ञान दिलाएंगे जर्नलिस्ट, उसको हम सुन लेते हैं, मगर हम तो लगातार चुनाव हो ना हो हम टैक्स पेयर का सम्मान में काम करते जाएंगे. जैसे कि अभी नया बिल आएगा, इनकम टैक्स एक्ट नया ले आ रहे हैं, इसीलिए इस सत्र में ही ले आ रहे हैं. वो भी चुनाव के कारण नहीं, 1964 से लगातार 61 से लगातार उसका कोई कुछ अमेंडमेंट नहीं किया, ऊपर से ऐड करते आए. वो इतना बड़ा तकिया जैसे डॉक्यूमेंट हो गया है, उसको कम करने हमारे कर्तव्य, चुनाव से संबंधित नहीं है.
निर्मला जी, लोग पूछ रहे हैं आपसे और खास करके कांग्रेस के लोग. आपने कहा कि आपने इनकम टैक्स घटा दिया, तो शशि थरूर जी कह रहे हैं कि इनकम टैक्स घटा दिया बहुत अच्छी बात है, अब इनकम भी दे दीजिए क्योंकि बहुत से लोग बेरोजगार हैं, एम्प्लॉयमेंट नहीं मिल रही. व्हाट अबाउट एम्प्लॉयमेंट? शशि थरूर को आज क्या जवाब देंगे?
क्यों जुलाई के बजट वो पढ़ा नहीं है क्या? 5 अच्छा स्कीम्स एम्प्लॉयमेंट के लिए ले आए थे. उसमें एक स्कीम, उस 5 में से एक स्कीम इंटर्नशिप का भी, जिससे जिनको अभी तक रोजगार के अवसर ही नहीं प्राप्त हुआ, शायद उनके स्किल सेट बढ़ाना हो, उनके एक्सपोजर बढ़ानी हो, उनको इंटर्नशिप स्कीम ले आए। वो बाकी 4 में रोजगार उत्पन्न करने के लिए ही हमने स्कीम ले आए। और उसके अलावा रोजगार मेला जो सरकार में जो सैंक्शनड पोजीशंस है उसको भरपाई करने के लिए 2 महीने के एक बार, पहले तो अक्टूबर 22 से लेकर 23 तक हर महीने 10 लाख 5 लाख ऐसे जॉब्स देते आए, अभी भी दे रहे हैं।
लेकिन
तो ये सब जॉब्स के श्रृंखला में नहीं आता है क्या?
राहुल गांधी तो कह रहे हैं कि बुलेट वुंड्स हैं सबके ऊपर और आप लाए हैं तो एक बैंडेड। राहुल गांधी को क्या करें?
मुझे दुख लगता है कि एम्प्लॉयमेंट जैसे एक युवाओं को टच करने वाले टॉपिक के ऊपर वो हल्के फुल्के से बात करते हैं। बुलेट वुंड बैंडेड डाल रही हो, नहीं, आप बताओ भाई, आपके 10 साल में इकोनॉमी को ऐसे छोड़ कर गए, उसको सही करके अभी हम जॉब्स दे रहे हैं। उस समय के ग्रोथ का भी लोग बोलते थे कि जॉबलेस ग्रोथ है, बोलते हैं ना, हमारे टाइम पर ग्रोथ इतना हुआ उतना हुआ। उस समय भी आपने कुछ कर नहीं पाए, हम कर रहे हैं, जॉब्स दे रहे हैं, जॉब्स के लिए स्कीम ले आ रहे हैं, गवर्नमेंट में भर्ती कर रहे हैं। सो उनका किसी भी सीरियस टॉपिक जिसके ऊपर हमारे युवा, हमारी महिला का बहुत ध्यान जाता है, कंसर्न रहता है, उसके ऊपर कोई सीरियस डिबेट का उनके साथ चांस ही नहीं है, क्योंकि हल्के में कुछ बात करते हैं, चले जाते हैं।
लेकिन आज उन्होंने कहा है चाइना हैज लेफ्ट दिस वर्ल्ड बिहाइंड, स्पेशली इंडिया बिहाइंड, बिकॉज आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस चाइना ने इतनी लीड ले ली है। वो कह रहे हैं कि कास्ट सेंसस में आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस को यूज करके एम्पावरमेंट होना चाहिए, क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ बैकवर्ड क्लासेस ज्यादा हैं। हाउ कैन वी यूज आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस ऑन कास्ट अपलिफ्टमेंट?
मैं किसी का बात को बोरो करते हुए एक जवाब देना चाहती हूँ इसको, इसलिए कि वो अच्छा लगा मुझे। पहले आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस को उपयोग करते हुए कांग्रेस पार्टी को सुधारो, कांग्रेस पार्टी का नेतृत्व को तोड़ो और सक्षम बनाओ। आई एम बोरोइंग दीज वर्ड्स
फ्रॉम होम,
I'll disclose that sometime to you. So, Congress party can use artificial intelligence and benefit from it if necessary. But that is Rahul Gandhi type jawab. I'll leave it. But honestly, artificial intelligence के ऊपर जुलाई बजट में मैंने अनाउंस किया और आज लागू हो रही है सेंटर ऑफ एक्सलेंस फॉर आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, पर्टिकुलरली फॉर एग्रीकल्चर, पर्टिकुलरली फॉर हेल्थ, particularly for urban cities, अभी particularly also for one more area, education। और आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस में हमारे स्किल सेट्स बढ़ाए हमारे युवा को, इसीलिए स्किलिंग में भी आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस को सिखाने के लिए उसमें कैसे टूल्स बनाना है, उस टूल्स को कैसे उपयोग में ले आना है, उसके लिए आईटीआई स्तर पर में हर राज्य में इक्विपमेंट्स के लिए हम इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं और ट्रेनर्स को ले आ रहे हैं। ये सब आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस इस देश में बढ़ाने के लिए। और वैसे भी हमारे एंटरप्रेन्योर्स आज आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस में इतना प्रोग्रेस कर रहे हैं अपने आप में, और विद सम सपोर्ट फ्रॉम probably some governments, state governments and central government, हम उसको आगे और स्पीडी से लेके जाने के लिए इतने सारे ले आ रहे हैं। मगर इनका उसमें भी आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस को यूज करते हुए कास्ट सेंसस, प्रोग्रेशन में भी रिग्रेसिव थॉट को ले आने में माहिर है राहुल गांधी। दिस इज दैट।
बट आई वांट टू आस्क यू, ऑपोजिशन कह रही है दैट यू हैव गिवन बोनांजा टू मिडिल क्लासेस, लेकिन इसमें गरीबों को आपने पीछे छोड़ दिया है। चाहे वो मनरेगा हो, चाहे वो हेल्थ एलोकेशंस हो, चाहे वो आयुष्मान भारत हो, उस तरह से आपने नहीं बढ़ाया। अब इसमें भी वो नुक्स निकाल रहे हैं। क्या आपने गरीबों को भुलाकर अब मिडिल क्लासेस को याद किया है? क्योंकि लोकसभा चुनाव में मिडिल क्लासेस थोड़े से खफा थे।
हमने किसी एलोकेशन, मनरेगा हो या अपने एजुकेशन और हेल्थ, आयुष्मान भारत इन जनरल, किसी का एलोकेशन कम नहीं हुआ। आप जाके एक बार देख लो। क्योंकि ऑपोजिशन बयानबाजी कर रहे हैं उसमें से ये निकला, वो गलत है। बजट बनाने के समय बीई में जो अमाउंट देते हैं उसको बढ़ाते हैं जब डिमांड आता है मनरेगा के केस में। फिर दोबारा रिवाइज्ड एस्टिमेट के समय तक कितना उपयोग में आया उसको मन में रखते हुए आरई फिगर्स आते हैं। अगले साल आरई में कितना उपयोग हुआ है उसको बेसिस में रखते हुए बीई बनाते हैं। बीई टू बीई कंपेयर करके नहीं, उस बीई में ज्यादा था, इस बीई में कम है, नहीं। जब डिमांड ड्रिवन प्रोग्राम्स, मनरेगा डिमांड ड्रिवन है, अगर डिमांड ज्यादा होते आए तो हमारी स्टेज तक, आपको याद दिलाना चाहती हूं, कोविड के समय मनरेगा में खर्च 1,20,000 तक पहुंचा। हमने रोका क्या? जब डिमांड आता है हम देते जा रहे हैं। इसको हर साल उठाना, हर साल जवाब मांगना, हर साल हम भी दे रहे हैं जवाब, मगर सच्चाई तो वही है, जैसे डिमांड आता है वैसे हम पेमेंट करते जाते हैं।
तो आप कह रही हैं कि मनरेगा यानी लोगों के पास जॉब्स हैं इसलिए मनरेगा का डिमांड नहीं है?
नहीं, हर एक स्टेट में उनके अपने हालात अलग अलग सा है। कई एग्रीकल्चर एक्टिविटी ज्यादा जब होता है मनरेगा में डिमांड नहीं होता। टेक्निकली वो इंटेंट, कानून का इंटेंट भी वही था मनरेगा का। एग्रीकल्चरल एक्टिविटीज जब हाई में रहता उस समय मनरेगा एंटरटेन ही नहीं करते हैं डिस्ट्रिक्ट में। एग्रीकल्चरल सीजन होने के बाद उस फार्म वर्कर का कोई जॉब नहीं मिलता, उस समय 100 डेज का अश्योरेंस के साथ मनरेगा। अभी पूरे साल का आप बोल रही हो। सो बहुत सारे इसमें विषय है। सम स्टेट्स आर डूइंग इट इन वन वे, सम अदर स्टेट्स आर डूइंग इट इन अनदर वे। फिर भी हम सबको हाँ करके वी गिव द मनी एलोकेशन एज एंड व्हेन इट कम्स।
राहुल गांधी तो छोड़िए, अरविंद केजरीवाल कह रहे हैं कि मिडिल क्लास के लिए रिलीफ टैक्स का उन्होंने आपको हिदायत दी थी, उन्होंने रेकमेंडेशन दी तो आपने किया। आप दिल्ली चुनाव से प्रभावित थी या अरविंद केजरीवाल की बात सुन के ये जो टैक्स रिबेट आपने दिया है आज देश की जनता को बता ही दीजिए, इतना डर क्यों दिल्ली चुनाव से?
प्लीज, दिल्ली के चुनाव के लिए, पूरे देश के लिए मैं 1 लाख करोड़ का इनकम फोरगो करूं क्या? नहीं। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का टैक्स पेयर को सम्मान करने के लिए ये प्रपोजल ले आए हैं हम। वो उसमें केजरीवाल जी तो 10 तक दे दीजिए ऐसे बोले ना, 10 लाख तक। हम उस नंबर से इंप्रेस नहीं है, 12 तक ये दिए। सो उनको वो भी कैलकुलेशन मन में समझ में नहीं आता, क्योंकि इन स्पाइट ऑफ हिम हैविंग बीन IRS रेवेन्यू सर्विस में थे ना पहले, इतना आंकड़ा सही कर नहीं सक रहे थे।
लेकिन आज दिल्ली में जितने भी एडवर्टाइजमेंट छपे हैं चुनाव के लिए, उसमें बीजेपी ने ये लाइन तो यूज की है कि दिल्ली की जनता के लिए टैक्स रिबेट।
उपयोग उनको भी आएगा क्या? नहीं, बिल्कुल आएगा। इसीलिए हम बोल रहे हैं उनको भी उपयोगी है, पूरे देश का भी उपयोगी है। हम टैक्स पेयर ओनली फ्रॉम दिल्ली बोला है क्या? नहीं। मगर टैक्स पेयर ऑफ दिल्ली एक्सक्लूडेड किए क्या? वो भी नहीं।
तो अरविंद केजरीवाल की बात मानी कि नहीं मानी आपने? आज अरविंद केजरीवाल को तो कुछ कह दीजिए।
अरविंद केजरीवाल की बात वो खुद नहीं मानते। उनके अपने आप को वो बोलते हैं मैं तो परपेचुअल, क्या बोलते हैं, अनार्किस्ट हूं। हम उस बात को मानेंगे क्या? ऐसे ही वो बोले दिल्ली को पेरिस बना देंगे, लंदन बना देंगे। उस बात को वो खुद नहीं माना, खुद नहीं माना। नहीं तो दिल्ली तो अभी राजधानी, देश के राजधानी पेरिस जैसे होना था। वो ही डजंट बिलीव इन हिज ओन वर्ड्स, दूसरे कैसे मानेंगे?
निर्मला जी, मैं कुछ मीम्स आपको दिखाना चाहती हूँ। ये मीम्स खास करके बिहार को दिखा रहे हैं। इस मीम में है कि गोद में बिहार ऊपर उठ गया और बाकी स्टेट नीचे हो गए। लोग कह रहे हैं कि बिहार में वो जो मखाना बोर्ड आपने बनाया है तो उसमें लोग दिखा रहे हैं गोविंदा, अमिताभ बच्चन, माधुरी दीक्षित नाच रहे हैं। ये बिहार की वजह से आपने बाकी सारे स्टेट्स को इग्नोर कर दिया, ये आप पे चार्ज है। हाउ वुड यू रिस्पॉन्ड?
उनको ही मालूम है ये गलत है, और ऐसे आरोप लगाना एक दिन के लिए अच्छा लगता है उनको। बाद में उनसे पूछिएगा आप पैसा गया कि नहीं। पिछले बार भी यही आरोप लगाया, आंध्रा और बिहार, बाकी सब स्टेट्स का नाम निकाला नहीं, उठाया नहीं, बोला नहीं है पैसा गया कि नहीं गया। अगर पैसा नहीं गया पूछना चाहिए, पैसा आया तो नहीं, वो गलत, अपना गलती को मानना चाहिए। ऐसे ही मैं इस बार पूछ रही हूं, बिहार को इतना हम करना क्यों? पूर्वोदय के लिए प्रधानमंत्री जी बहुत मन लगाकर काम कर रहे हैं, मगर पूर्वोदय इतना दयनीय, इस तरह वर्ड, दयनीय हालत में क्यों है भाई? अगर पिछले 10 साल में 20 साल में आपके जमाने में बिहार को आपके महाराष्ट्र, कर्नाटका या हिमाचल प्रदेश और कुछ और राज्य, पंजाब जैसे बनाने के लिए तब से अगर एफर्ट होता, तो बिहार क्यों है ऐसे रहता है आज? डैम बनाना, पानी के लिए रोकने के लिए, फ्लड रोकने के लिए, फ्लड कंट्रोल के लिए कुछ करना, ये सब काम था ना, अब क्यों नहीं किए इसको? और जब कोई करने लगा आपको जलन हो रही है, अरे बिहार को क्यों, बिहार को क्यों? बिहार से दुश्मनी आपको इतना क्यों? बिहार को करना नहीं है।
But they are saying that M.K. Stalin is saying why not for Tamil Nadu, Mr. Pinarayi Vijayan is saying why not for Kerala.
ये क्यों? तमिलनाडु में तूतुकुड़ी में बहुत बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट हमने नहीं दिया, मेट्रो के पैसा नहीं दिया तमिलनाडु में। ये केरला में ऐसे ही 40-50 इयर्स से पेंडिंग रोड प्रोजेक्ट्स को किसने करवाया, काम कंप्लीट किसने करवाया? मोदी जी है ना।
बट आप जो सरकार चला रहे हैं वो कुछ फॉर सम इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट दे आर बिकमिंग रिचर, ये बार बार आपके ऊपर आरोप लगता है। Why does the opposition target you that all airports go to one company, all ports go to one company? This targeting of the Modi Sarkar has never really relented. Why do you think this charge is made?
अगर यही है तो तेलंगाना सरकार उन्हीं को क्यों बुला करके प्रोजेक्ट्स देते हैं? तुरंत राहुल गांधी जी तेलंगाना सरकार को बुला करके, कांग्रेस पार्टी के गवर्नमेंट है ये और ए को देना नहीं है, आप कैसे दिए? चीफ मिनिस्टर का हटाओ, सरकार को बर्खास्त करो, जैसे आपने पेपर को फाड़ कर कूड़े में डाल दे, उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को कूड़े में डाल दो, करो ना। वो नहीं करते हो, बार बार हमारे ऊपर। हम तो ओपनली बोल रहे हैं, टेंडर खुला, ओपन टेंडर के प्रोसेस में हम करते हैं। अब जाकर बोलो ना, तेलंगाना का बोलो।
But let me also ask you, a big demand on the part of India Inc. in this particular budget was on the rationalization of GST. I want to ask you, is there such an exercise that is on in the GST Council?
Yes.
And how soon is this going to be resolved? Because private sector investment is not coming as per the expectation. Job creation depends on that. A lot of growth, which has slowed down in the quarters of last year that we've seen, the numbers for, depend on that. How soon do you think this exercise will be complete?
See, the group of ministers have almost done the work of rationalizing the rates. I had gone through the details, and in fact, I did say this to some of the Congress and non-Congress finance ministers, that we can do more in it. Meaning, the rationalization was not just to bring the rates down. Rationalization was also to make sure that where you have leave 0, 5, 10, 5, 12, 18, and 28. We can drop one of the rates, 18 or 12 or whatever, and move those to the closest possible rate. Because pre-GST, if you compare with current GST, where we could tax on an average 15%, at the rate of 15% on any item, we have gradually brought it down to 11%, meaning before GST, whatever rate prevailed, if we had to continue at the same thing, we could have remained at 15 itself. But we've brought progressively down the rates, and that is why today it is at 11. We wanted to further come down, so particularly essential goods which common people use daily, if we can bring it down, we want to bring as many of them down to say 5%, or where they are at 18, at least bring them to 12, and so on. I must thank the finance ministers who are in this group who've done intense work on it. Now, I also want to make sure the central government's inputs are given to them, so that as a result of that whole thing, the package which we can come up with will be useful, beneficial for the common citizen, and day-to-day goods are taxed minimum. That work will happen soon.
So you're saying 5%, 12%, 18% and 28% should be collapsed into only 3 rates?
No, I'm not saying 3, I'm not saying 2, I'm not saying 1. That is something which all of us will have to sit and work on. As it is, a lot of work has been done about reducing the tax on some items. So some which were at 12 can go to 5, some which were at 18 can come to 12. That work is already happening a lot. So it's now to sit and consolidate this and come out with a report.
By when?
I think it will be sooner, because it consumed a lot of time.
Before the end of this financial year? 31st March se pehle?
No, I'll need to hold a meeting also, no? Before I hold a council meeting.
So central government, you said, wants to give its recommendations. What are the central government recommendations?
No, I don't think I can sit and list it out. We may look at it item by item and so on.
I want to ask you, the popcorn controversy that happened, does that have a bearing on some of the decisions that are taken? I know you were trolled, and again, billions of memes. Nirmala ji, I want to ask you, does it impact you, at an emotional level, at a decision-making level, when people go after you in this manner? What did that one controversy mean to you?
No, I don't allow that to worry me in the negative sense, but I take it as people have a viewpoint. People have a viewpoint either because they have an experience in the sense they've been affected by it adversely, or they have a viewpoint saying they expect more, whether they are affected or not affected. So I take it for that. It's a different thing that, different types of people use different types of language. Some are very abusive, some are very toxic, but okay, these are part of being in public life. But I certainly take it in my course of work, and where I should do some kind of introspection and correction, I definitely do it. Because there is a very powerful tool for me to get the viewpoints, and therefore I take it for that.
For social media?
Not just social media, public opinion. When you walk around in the airport or railway station, people see you and tell you things. I take all of them seriously.
So today, if somebody were to come back to you and ask, would you have said something different today on the statement that you made about GST on caramelized meetha popcorn?
Navika, that was a very complex issue. I had to announce the clarification which the GST Council had taken. There was a large state where there were a lot of problems in the way in which some traders, I'm not saying all, were misusing this classification, because just plain popcorn, unpacked and loose, which is what you get in malls, they do it there itself and give it to you, so it is taxed as 5%. And there are places where packed, pre-packed and sealed come at 18%. Just salted, I'm going into the detail, which was mocked at, but I have to say this. These are classifications done with codes. Because why do you need codes? Why do you need so many difference? There are such things, not just popcorn, on every item. They can be imported, they can be manufactured here. And the treatment within India, when it is done by a cottage industry, is different from that which is done by a large, giant corporate body. So these treatments are
repackaged and
branded, and they have huge advertisements and so on. They are treated differently, as different from local merchant who does it small and sells his well. These are differentiations brought because of the economy's nature itself. But when the same product comes from outside, they have a particular code with which they come. So an imported product competing against a similar product which is produced within the country, they have to be treated, and there should be some unique number given to them. So there is a HSN code given to them. Now, therefore, the doubt which arises in the mind of both the seller or when they go to the court, in the court, that these two items are being treated similarly or they should be treated differently are all subject to litigation. So when a state tells you, look, this is being misused, we want the GST Council looking into it and give a clarity.
Which
because
state was this?
It doesn't have to be mentioned here, but a state felt that a lot of revenue was being lost because of misuse. GST Council looked into it. All ministers belonging to different parties, different states, agreed, yes, this clarification should be given. And I could have said, all right, my officers will give it. I could have done that. Saved myself, looking at it in retrospect, saved myself from all the, memes saying, should the finance minister come and say this? Does she have to think about popcorn? Should she not be thinking about I take that. I take it in my stride. But for a GST, which is now just going to be, which is touched 10 years, but no, 7th year, there are a lot of teething problems on which when there is a clarification which the council takes up and in a press conference, and that day, mind you, there was a television channel which was running it as though they have already got to know what the council is taking as a decision. And in the media, in the press conference, somebody asks a question. Do I reply or do I not? And if it is a petty thing, I'm a finance minister, I can't talk on popcorn, I could have asked a secretary to answer. Even that would be treated. I remember distinctly during Atmanirbhar Bharat time, when one question was asked of me, I said, probably I spoke too much, and I said, all right, now the secretary can answer. That evening, my God, there were a lot of people who said, she doesn't know fundamental, she's only an achar mami, she cannot give
Achar mami.
Yes, she makes achar, so she doesn't know these details. She's asking the secretary to reply. So opinions come on that as well.
Damned if you do, damned if you
Yes.
don't.
So I don't mind, because these are, I suppose, occupational
Nuts and bolts
Yes.
of the tax regime.
and the finance minister doesn't know any of that. Now, when I come up with a clarification, which was a council decision, I'm held wrong. It's all right. I take all this in my stride, occupational
बुरा तो
hazard.
लगता होगा कभी-कभी.
Because people
You're
don't.
human.
No, you don't go into the fullest context as to why was there a need for me to clarify. Why was it a council decision which I had to say? And all the ministers involved took a call. Are you then telling me that all the ministers were also spending their time talking about pop? It was a requirement. Legally, there are several cases going on. So unless the council gives a clarification, we just can't, run away from it.
आपको लगता है कि आप महिला हैं, इसीलिए ज्यादा टारगेट होती हैं? लगता है?
Well, today I would say महिला है फिर भी appreciation भी आता है.
लेकिन थोड़ा सा ज्यादा अपने आप को प्रूव करना होता है.
That is a truth.
Easy target.
I suppose in every profession, no? आपको भी मीडिया में और मुझे भी इधर और कहीं और भी बोर्ड्स में, कॉलेजेस में, स्कूल्स में, आर्म फोर्सेस में, जहां भी महिला है, उनको जरूर पुरुष से 3 गुना ज्यादा करना पड़ रहा है, उतना ही रिकॉग्निशन के लिए. There is no doubt.
और अगर आप नहीं आंसर करते तो कहते हैं इसको कुछ समझ में नहीं आता. और अगर आप ना बोले तो अरे आप ईगोइस्टिक हैं. बुरा लगता है कभी. पॉलिटिशियंस को भी बुरा लगता है. हैव यू बिकम हार्ड लाइक अदर पॉलिटिशियंस के अभी भी दिल में कहीं नॉर्मल इंसान की तरह बुरा लगता है?
I take it in my stride. I don't think I have a choice.
पर अगर आप सोचती हैं, हर आदमी सोचता है, पर्सनल लेवल पे भी सोचता है, काम के लेवल पे भी सोचता है, कभी कभी लगता है कि थोड़ा अनफेयर है.
But I suppose life is full of many such things. No? Unfairness happens. You have to live with it. But if you're able to cross it and come out of it, it gives you immense satisfaction.
इस मुद्दे पर कभी प्रधानमंत्री से कोई बातचीत हुई? नहीं हुई. किसी और अपने कॉलीग से आपने शेयर किया?
नहीं.
जरूरत नहीं.
नहीं, जरूरत है कि नहीं, वो विषय नहीं है. मैं आई डोंट. उससे क्या उनको that 1 hour with me will also become unwanted. They also feel this unpleasantness of it. So उससे क्या फायदा?
So apart from being a finance minister who has to look at the balance sheet, you also have to be very strong to take everything in your
In
stride.
whichever position you are, you have to build your inner strength. There's no doubt.
तो ये जब उसके बाद ये हलवा वाले मीम्स भी इस बार आए. इस बार आपने हलवा सेरेमनी की पिक्चर्स नहीं दी. लोग कहते हैं
शायद पिक्चर नहीं लिया गया.
क्यों? हर साल तो लिया जाता था. और लास्ट ईयर बहुत मीम्स बने थे उस पिक्चर पे. कांग्रेस यूथ कांग्रेस के हेड वो जो बीवी श्रीनिवास जी हैं, उन्होंने लगाया था कि इस बार हलवा टाइप का मीठा है तो आप कितना ज्यादा टैक्स कर देंगी. वो उस टाइप के भी मीम्स आए थे. तो क्या was it a decision not to release a halwa picture today कि हलवा सेरेमनी नहीं हुई?
नहीं, हलवा सेरेमनी बिल्कुल हुई, क्योंकि वो इट्स अ कस्टम. उधर स्टाफ जो हैं उनके लिए ये शुभ आरंभ है. हर बजट तैयार करने से पहले, शुरू करने से पहले they do it, and we are all very happy to go and join them. They do it and this साल भी हुआ है.
तो फोटो क्यों नहीं खींची? आप
शायद नहीं लिया, फोटो नहीं लिया शायद.
क्यों?
इसमें घबराने के लिए. अरे नाविका जी, यू आस्किंग मी अबाउट घबराहट बेस्ड ऑन सोशल मीडिया. पिछले एक साल अगर मैं डर गई थी, मैं आज आपके सामने बैठने वाली नहीं थी. आई वुडंट बी सिटिंग इन फ्रंट ऑफ यू अगर इन सब के लिए डरती हूँ.
नहीं डरते. सुपर. क्योंकि लोग कह रहे थे कि चीनी पर 18% जीएसटी है, सूजी पर 5%, तो हलवे पर तो 23%.
इससे पहले क्या था? प्री जीएसटी के पहले, जीएसटी आने से पहले कितना था? वो भी वो साथ में लगाने में वो फेयरनेस दिखाई देगा ना. ये सब नहीं करते वो, क्योंकि उस दिन का एक पॉट शॉट लो और चले जाओ दूसरे करने के लिए. प्री जीएसटी दे वर ऑल हायर देन व्हाट दे आर टुडे.
एक और मीम था, ये बजट से पहले चल रहा था, ये आपकी फोटो मैंने ये देखा था. और अगरबत्ती लोग चला रहे हैं कि भाई हमारा ध्यान रख लेना आज. आपने बजट अनाउंसमेंट से पहले देखा था ये मीम?
नहीं, ये बाद में देखा जहाँ आरती उतार रहे हैं धन्यवाद कह करके, वो देखा मैंने.
तो अच्छा लगा कि कम से कम they make it up to you. At least normal, common people make it up to you.
I take it as because they have something to convey, they did it, and now they're doing this. Both are all right.
मैं आपसे ये भी पूछना चाहती हूँ कि everybody in the corporate world is talking about Trump's tariff regime. Is there something that worries you as the finance minister of India about what will happen to Indian businesses, Indian exports, if tariff levels were to be raised by US President Trump?
But we'll have to see, we'll have to wait and see rather than speculate on it. Because on actions, tariff-related actions, US administration has already taken some action on Canada, on Mexico, on China. So we'll have to see whether they're going to take anything on us, and it is only then can we even think of how to handle it. Of course, we're watching. Of course, we want to ready ourselves for situations where we have to respond.
What do you think about work-life balance? Some people are recommending 70-hour weeks. Some people are recommending 90-hour weeks. वो कह रहे हैं कि संडे को बैठ के अपनी पत्नी की शक्ल आप कितनी देर देखेंगे? What do you think about it?
I think every person has his own assessment of how long he wants to do his work, particularly in the initial years, and they'll do accordingly. The best from you can come out based on the work that you do, based on the way you want to do it. Individuals will arrive at what is best for them.
But do you think it is a little sexist to say how long will you watch?
I'm not sure he would have said it really in that sense, but I don't know the context in which he said it. But looked a bit odd.
Looked a bit odd to you? At least the women were up in arms. But let me also ask you, there is a pressure on every political party on giving freebies. The BJP was one party that said that it wouldn't get into this trap of freebies. I want to ask you, the Delhi election alone, before that Maharashtra elections, before that Madhya Pradesh elections, the schemes, Ladli Behna, direct transfers to bank accounts under one scheme or the other. Isn't this freebie? And are we falling into the trap of this freebie? Is there no political consensus? Of course there is no political consensus, but is the BJP falling into the same trap that it said it wouldn't?
I think what the BJP is doing is understanding what's the fiscal strength of a state. And only if they think that in that state, that scheme can be sustained, they offer it.
Maharashtra's fiscal condition is not very great.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you talking about
They have so
Punjab?
much debt. No, are we talking about comparison? I'm just saying that
point is-
Maharashtra has a huge debt.
Yes, every state has debt. Central government has debt. But if you have the ways and means to meet up with that, and if you think you are able to generate enough resources and revenue for it, you're welcome to come with a scheme through your budgetary process. What many of the states did earlier was to announce Revdi and not take it to their assemblies. Enough examples exist. And also not pay. For instance, there are states which announced farmer loan waiver, which was actually executed through the banks. Many of them didn't even pay the banks. There are long dues to the banks which have honored the commitment of a particular state government. But banks are funded by the center. Their equity is held by the center. They have committed to honor a particular loan waiver scheme. The state government is supposed to fund it. There are delays in money coming, there are delays in money being received, and there are sometimes money not being received at all. So you give a promise only when you can keep it up. And you give a promise only when you put it as a part of budgetary activity so that your assembly, the elected body, gives you the authority to do it. You can't just give a promise and not fulfill it, or fulfill it at somebody else's cost. Those are objectionable.
But Delhi is a revenue surplus budget. Why do you then attack Arvind Kejriwal so much?
Karnataka was a revenue surplus state. Look at the way it has become revenue deficit now. Himachal Pradesh gave promises under the Congress again. They are not able to fulfill. And they would say, not Himachal Pradesh, Karnataka would say, Modi ji, hame paisa nahi de rahe. You give the promise, you get the vote, you come to power, and you want Modi to fund it?
But you're falling into the same trap.
Not at all. I would say BJP is a lot more discerning on this. They look at how they can fund it. If they can fund it to that extent, it is only that.
So you have actually amended your situation. You are not saying Revdi politics should be done away with. What you are saying is Revdi politics हम भी करेंगे, हम थोड़ा provision करके करेंगे, ये बिना provision. That's a change in position.
No. Revdi is when you give promises without any kind of backing. And it is just a, giveaway without even having an asset creation or without having any benefit towards the economy in terms of contribution.
2500 रुपए जो महिलाओं को दिल्ली में दे रहे हैं, कौन सा asset creation हो रहा है?
No, at least the home expenses are taken care of.
So that is not asset creation for the government.
But if you can afford it, no, that is at least consumption, right? So if you can afford it, give it. If you can't afford it, don't load it to the aane wale peediyan. Next generation debt.
Maharashtra में तो आने वाली पीढ़ियां
But it's a state which can generate enough resources for it.
Then why does it have so much debt?
For construction, for capital expenditure, like the way we do. For capital expenditure, Navika, since you go into details of economy, I'll say this.
Capital expenditure.
Just a minute. What is my fiscal deficit? For projected 25, 26, 4.4, right? What is my number given for capital expenditure to the GDP? Fiscal deficit is deficit on the GDP. Now, what is my capital expenditure? Capital expenditure is 4.3% of my GDP. 4.4 for the fiscal deficit, 4.3 is this one. What does that mean? My borrowing, which is my fiscal deficit, goes for capital expenditure, asset creation. That's the way I'm going. And it's also the way in which I'm going so that my 26, 27 onwards, my focus will be on reducing debt to GDP. I'll keep an eye on my fiscal deficit, but debt to GDP, because there was a committee under N.K. Singh, long time back, which said your borrowing should come down to 50% at least. 60 for the central government, 40 for state governments, a different combination. I am committing myself, which I said in July budget, that I'll bring it down to 50% level by 2030. I've given a path, glide path for it. I've given a clear roadmap to say how I'm going to achieve that. So equally, there are measures being taken to make sure your debt position is improved. You're not going to burden the future generations, but if you're borrowing, you will borrow it for quality expenditure for creating assets. That's the principle with which...
Mr. Chidambaram says all you need to do is get out of the way.
Which is what all of us have been. Who introduced this line? We will have red carpet for business and remove the red tape. Who brought in this where government should not be in business, we should be out of it? Who brought that in? Prime Minister Modi. Minimum government, maximum governance. Who said it? Prime Minister Modi. So what is the opposition speaking about it now?
But Mr. Chidambaram says because you are so much in the way that nothing really is getting done. How would you respond to him?
Assume that we were in the way. That is why we were able to lift the economy back to position from fragile 5. Our banks have been brought back to good health. Today, when he says that he should also look back as to what was wrong, they were everywhere. That is why the economy went down to bottom 5. There was policy paralysis. They were wiser at that time to do all that.
Let me ask you about the question that many people are asking, that you promised 11 lakh crores for capital investment. The revised estimates show that only 10 lakh crores were spent. You've again pegged it at 11.2 lakh crores. The question is that you might put it there, but actual capital investment is not taking place. Public expenditure is not taking place. The slowdown, signs of slowdown in the economy are there to see. All of this, does it worry you?
If I know the reason and say this, I'll be happy. I know the reason, I'll tell you. Elections happened in 24. Quarter 1 and quarter 2 suffered because of that, because administration couldn't push the capital expenditure allocations which have been given. Even in spite of the elections, even in spite of 2 quarters getting affected, in comparison to the target of 11.11, we've touched 10 at least. And we'll make up one more. You have a couple of days more, few days before the year ends. I mean, whole March is there. Despite that, we have said the coming year we will give 11.2. That's not a shortfall. That's not a reduction. It is still growing, right? Compared to the RE, it's 10.2% more.
You think the growth slowdown will be addressed?
Of course.
So you think it's a temporary blip? Are you still convinced?
Because elections had come in the way of regular government expenditure towards capital assets. Let's not forget that.
And it's reversible. So what do you peg the growth rate at?
2019, didn't we have the same kind of a conversation? There's no liquidity in the market. There's a liquidity shortage. Business is not able to expand. Didn't we correct that?
MSMEs, do you think...
So many announcements in this budget as well.
But the opposition says that that is where employment has to come. The fact that there is high unemployment is because the MSME sector isn't able to come out of, the paralysis that happened post-demonetization.
Have they spoken to the MSMEs? No. They are building a narrative for their convenience. Every demand of the MSME since COVID is being addressed. In fact, during COVID, during the moratorium that no MSME should suffer, it was we who designed the emergency credit guarantee, liquidity guarantee scheme. And it was a successful scheme. Congress party can speak about every section as they want, just as they're speaking about artificial intelligence now. Caste census now. And just as they say, oh, China's growing, and that's where he went and wanted to copy perhaps what China's doing and signed an MOU. Has he ever told you what is in that MOU? What did they do in China with that MOU?
But you're the government. You raid everybody. Why can't you raid him and find out what's there in the MOU?
First of all, it's bail and other things they have to answer. How many of them are in bail outside of, imprisonment?
Yeah, but...
So they should answer the public as to why they have come out in bail, why they had to seek the bail, what is the offense for which they've been pulled up by the court. There are so many things they have to answer. Leave me going after them.
Let me ask you, Telangana has come out with a caste census, and Rahul Gandhi today in Parliament has also said that 56% of Telangana's population is from the backward classes. What do you think, is the policy that you would come out with this? Because he says in your Halwa ceremony nobody from the backward class is there to click. Is that why pictures were not clicked and, more and more people from backward
I
class?
asked some questions of Rahul Gandhi even the last time when he spoke insensitively about the Halwa ceremony. I told what importance it has for those people who get locked in the cellar of the Ministry of Finance for 8 days preparing the budget. And for him to have trivially spoken about it was an insult to those people. But I asked him some crucial questions. He hasn't bothered to answer it. How many SCs and OBCs are in Rajiv Gandhi Foundation? How many SCs and STs are running his family trusts? So if he doesn't have the courage to answer these, he should stop pontificating on these. Caste, like earlier, Mrs. Indira Gandhi's time onwards. Poverty, eradicating poverty, poverty. Now he wants to go on playing on caste and caste and caste. They did nothing for removing poverty. They will do nothing for eradicating problems related to caste. But he is notorious in having to talk about only these, instead of speaking about how in states where they are in governance, how they are going to improve the lot of the people there, how that state is going to compete with other states which are moving rapidly. On his new pet theory, artificial intelligence. Tell me if Karnataka and Telangana are benefiting from artificial intelligence, what have they done about it? What is Rahul Gandhi's advice to them?
Well, Nirmala Sitharaman, as always, feisty. I want to ask you, you've set a record with the presentation of 8 budgets consecutively. Do you feel it's an achievement at the end of the day, or do you still feel miles to go before we sleep?
None of that has sunk into me. I'm just going about my business.
And what business is that?
The responsibility given by Honorable Prime Minister and the party.
And if you were to be asked, what do you want to do next? What would you say?
I have an interview next. I have to go out for that.
No, as a milestone.
No, see, you'll not probably believe it. I don't so much set any target for myself. I take it as it comes.
People without targets, just like budgets without targets, mean nothing.
No, if you strongly believe that there is a force above you which is leading you somewhere, you'll go along. And that's what I do.
Well, on that note, thank you very much. Extremely spiritual and deep meaning words that you leave us with, but as always, pleasure speaking with you, and frankly speaking is what you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Navika, for this opportunity.
Many congratulations.
Thank you very much.